everyone, my name is Jack. I'm a 23-year-old real estate investor and soon-to-be attorney, and on this channel I cover a variety of topics as they relate to real estate, investing, the markets, and pretty much everything as it has to do with personal finance. So if you like that sort of content, be sure to have a look around the channel, and if you like what you see, be sure to subscribe. But today I have a little something special planned in that I'm doing a collaboration with Trae Robrock. He is a fellow personal finance YouTuber, and we are each reviewing each other's portfolios on our respective channels. But in this video, I'll give my take on his portfolio, what I think he might change with it, what might help him over the long term, and just clarify what his long-term goals are with his portfolio. I think it's important to get as many different investing perspectives as possible, especially when you're investing for the long term, since you want to be prepared to meet any given challenge that might come up with the economy, with your investments, whatever it might be. But if you like this sort of content or you want to see more collaborations in the future, definitely leave a like, since that would help the channel out a lot. But without further ado, let's get into Trae Robrock's portfolio review. All right, hey Trae, thanks for coming on to do this portfolio review. And as a reminder to everyone, Trae will be reviewing my portfolio over on his channel, so be sure to check that out. But I guess let's go ahead and start from the top here. Looks like you have about 75 grand in cash. Is that correct? Is that all the cash you have across basically all your accounts? All right, so the 75 grand in your bank accounts. Are you saving up for a particular investment, or is that just kind of reserves, emergencies? What is that for?
Yeah, it's for primarily my kitchen remodel that's going on right now.
Fair enough, fair enough. You got your primary residence and an investment property. Where are those properties located?
So my primary residence is here in Connecticut, New Canaan, Connecticut. And then the investment property is down in Land O'Lakes, Florida. Did
you used to live in that one in Florida, or did you buy it exclusively as an investment?
No, we just bought it last month.
Oh, well, congratulations. An out-of-state landlord. So do you manage that yourself, or do you have third-party management?
We were going to hire third-party property management, but I just wasn't very happy with anyone that we found. So like my long-term plans with the business is to grow it rather large, and I think it's inevitable to get into property management at some point, so why not try it early on? So my parents live very close there. That's why we're investing there, because I know the area really well. So they are kind of doing all the in-person stuff, and I'm managing everything else. And then we actually are in process of closing on the house next door to it.
Very nice. So you do have some boots on the ground there, and that'll certainly help. With my situation, I also invest out of state, and I wanted to make sure that I set up good systems right away, which it sounds like you've done as well. You want to have systems in place so that it's easier to scale over the long term. So nice move there, and best of luck with building that rental portfolio as well. And I'm assuming that, because I see you have M1 Finance here, you probably have a lot of margin that you could pull from, since they have that 35% margin option there. So is that kind of what you're using as a sort of emergency flex account?
Yeah, I use that pretty heavily in pretty much everything. I just sent my earnest money for a new real estate investment using that. It's like a $57,000 limit right now.
Oh, that's super handy, and definitely check that out if you guys are interested in M1 Finance. Trae and I both have links in our descriptions, I think always, so go ahead and check that out. It's a great free brokerage option, and really great for margin, for flexibility, not for speculation and gambling, everyone, but using it responsibly can be pretty powerful. So I see you have the 165. Is that in broader index funds? Is it in stock picks? How do you have that allocated?
It's a little bit of both. So I have about half of my portfolio in ETFs that are U.S. stock focused. So it's like mostly Trip Qs, so tech heavy ETF, and then a small and mid cap ETF as well. I have a few other ETFs, mostly on like the alternative side, like a couple of REITs. A couple of individual REITs that I picked, and then some real estate investments. And then I have, probably about 30% of my portfolio is single stocks. 20% of my portfolio is basically like growth-focused single stocks. It's like Tesla, Apple, Amazon, American Express, Disney, JP Morgan, Costco, Shopify, Spotify, Zillow, Chipotle, and Rocket Mortgage. And then I have like a dividend side of that too. And all of those are single stocks as well.
So you're pretty well diversified, but definitely leaning heavily towards the U.S., it seems.
Yeah, the U.S. and tech is definitely a leaning of mine.
So you've probably done extremely well this year, as pretty much any tech firm you could pick has done well. So I'd wonder if you'd want to lean a little bit more towards some international investments at some point, just to have a little bit more diversity there geographically. But it is a smaller portion of your portfolio, all things considered, since I guess we can go ahead and address the elephant in the room, and that's your stock in Greenbits, which is the company you helped found. And clearly that's done well enough compared to, I'm guessing, from zero. So Yep. Congratulations there. But right here it says it's 81% of your portfolio. So that's anything but diversified. What are your plans with that? Are you planning on staying fully invested in Greenbits and trying to propel that to even greater heights? Or kind of what's your longer term exit strategy, if you have one at all?
Well, that's the interesting thing with private equity is there's not a whole lot of things I can do with it. You know, there's the potential maybe for a secondary sale, but it's very hard to find someone that can pull that off and is willing to take terms and things like that on the deal. So there's not a whole lot of liquidity options unless there's like some sort of like acquisition or the company goes public or, you know, some sort of liquidity event like that. So if there was to be at a liquidity event, I would probably reduce my stake in that a bit, but no more than 25% of it. I still plan to have a lot of my portfolio focused on that company because they're still only just starting.
I guess I should also ask, what is Greenbits for those folks who aren't sure what it is, since it is a startup you were part of. What can you just give a quick elevator pitch of what the business does?
Yeah, so it's a software company that builds point of sale software for the legal cannabis space.
Obviously a volatile industry right now with definitely a lot of upside, so I can see why you'd be worried about that. I'd still wonder if you could move even a small portion of that, well, small at least in relative terms, but a couple $100,000 even, just to give yourself a sort of moat. So in the event that Greenbits unfortunately doesn't do as well as you'd hope, or if something happens to it, as I'm sure you're well aware, then you'd have a little bit more of a safety net there built in. And even if it does go up a bunch in the future, you still have that moat there either way, and who cares about the rest? So that would probably be my inclination, but then again, it's all based on your risk tolerance and your goals. You say that it's difficult to take money out. Is it impossible? Is there some way you can maybe take a portion of it out and just kind of create a sort of cushion for yourself there, or is that kind of off the table?
It's possible. I just have to find the person that is, you know, has the cash to buy it, has the legal prowess to be able to put the deal together, have to get it approved by the board. You know, there's a lot of barriers to selling any of it. And then there's also, you know, the whole upside question of it. You know, if you sell $500,000 of it now and they go and raise money next year or something like that, which I don't, you know, I haven't been there, so I don't actually know any of these details, just to be clear. Don't want anyone thinking that they're going and planning on raising next year because I know something. I don't. But if they were to raise next year and it's triple the value, then it's like, well, damn, then I just lost $1 million.
I'm going to go ahead and switch over to the allocation percentages here that you gave me. Looks like we were talking about before, most of it is leaning towards U.S. stocks, pretty heavy on growth and tech stocks, which is kind of a natural inclination now since that seems to be the future naturally. So I wouldn't have too much of a complaint there, but I would like to see ideally some more international diversification there. But you do have a pretty sizable chunk with the 13% or so, or 14% of your portfolio towards international stocks. I don't mind the fact that you don't have a ton of bonds because bonds are paying nothing right now anyways, and you have the huge inflation risk, of course, and it's not like you're nearing retirement necessarily, so you need that. You can take more risk for arguably more reward with stocks, so I don't mind that at all. And you have a decent chunk of cash sitting on the side at the moment, and hopefully that kitchen reno goes well. Could you tell me a little bit more about the alternatives here? Is that all crypto? What do you mean by alternatives?
That's what Personal Capital classifies them as. It is real estate, precious metals. I actually even have a water ETF in there now. Agriculture.
What by water you mean like?
Yeah, it's like actually. I discovered this the other day. It is an ETF that is focused on companies that basically make money processing and providing water.
All right. I mean, there's always going to be demand for that, so I guess it's kind of like a utility company at that point. but a very specialized one.
Yeah, it's a small like investment thesis I have is I think that one's pretty hard to do poorly and over the long term. But yeah, this alternatives is probably, let's see, about half real estate. And when I say real estate, it's REITs, and they are non-residential REITs.
All right. So I don't really mind that you don't have a ton in real estate or REIT stocks since you have your own rental portfolio. If you weren't doing rentals, you might want to have a bigger allocation towards REITs or real estate oriented stocks, but I don't see that as being a problem. One thing you might consider is maybe more commodities, just since they seem to be relatively cheap right now. Oil, gold, copper even, especially if you're oriented towards tech and the growth of electronics and EVs. Copper seems like a decent play right now. I don't know. We'll see what the future holds, but maybe getting a little bit more diversification into commodities could help over the long term, at least where prices are right now, since U.S. equities are very frothy right now, to say the least. I think you got a decent portfolio here, Trae, so congratulations again on the success of your startup, and hopefully you'll have much more to come. And I definitely would love to see if you have any sort of exit, even partially. I'd love to see what you do with that money, or if the Green Bits investment just goes to the moon, which would be even better. So
that would be pretty awesome. But we'll see.
As a reminder, Trae will be reviewing my portfolio on the other side, so go check out his channel. He does a lot of similar content to me about personal finance, taking risks in investments. He talks about his startup experience as well, something unique that I don't have. I don't have any startup experience, so he's got plenty of unique content over there, so go ahead and check him out. But thanks again, Trae, and until next time.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
So that concludes my review of Trae Robrock's portfolio. As you can see, he's relatively undiversified since he has so much of his equity in one particular stock, and that's the startup he worked for. That can happen if you start to take off and get some success. So it's a blessing and a curse. It's great that his company's doing well, but he is very exposed to the risk factors affecting that particular business. In the long term, like I was telling Trae, it would be helpful to have more of a cushion outside of Green Bits and outside of his startup so that if anything goes wrong with it, he has plenty to fall back on. But of course, there's always the risk that you take the money out too early or way too early, and then you miss out on huge gains. That's a common problem with startups since you never know what they're going to do in the future. There's a lot of risk and potentially a lot of reward. But I definitely enjoyed this a lot. Thank you very much, Trae. We'll actually be appearing on each other's podcasts very soon, so be on the lookout for that. But that's all I've got for today. If you like this video, please like it since it helps the channel out a lot. And if you like this sort of content about personal finance, be sure to subscribe so you never miss any new updates since I put out new videos every single week. And get those free stocks in the description below by signing up for Webull and Robinhood. If you sign up for those accounts, then you get some free stocks. I get some free stocks, so it is a win-win. Go ahead and do that while the money is there. But until next time, take care.